Hello, my name is Lizzy Odell. I am a river restoration engineer for the Yurok Tribe, and I'm going to be presenting on the Scott River Restoration Farmers Ditch Project, a collaboration for fish, farms, and neighbors. The project is located in the Scott River Valley in between Callahan and Etna. The project footprint is within the tailings reach, which is about a 4-mile length of the Scott River that in the mid-19th century was dredged for gold mining, leaving behind massive volumes of tailings as well as a lot of damage to the river system. Here's an aerial image from the downstream end of our project reach, looking farther downstream. In the background, you can see some undisturbed tailings. These ponds are from a gravel operation that is processing some of these tailings, and on the river right side or east side of the valley is the Scott River. And here is the upstream end of our project reach, looking farther upstream. You can see the extent of the tailings traveling farther up the valley, and once again the Scott River is over on the east side of the valley. This project was a collaboration between numerous different partners. In July of 2023, a memorandum of understanding was developed between the Farmers Ditch Company, which is a group of 9 farmers in the Scott River Valley that have a joint water right. In the memo of understanding was also the Yurok Tribe and Trout. This MOU developed a framework for collaboration to promote functional ecosystems as well as a sustainable water supply for the Scott Valley. The project team, the funding came from CDFW. In-channel design was done by Yurok Tribe Fisheries Department. Point of diversion design was done by Cascade Stream Solutions and Trout, and construction was done by Yurok Tribe Construction Corporation and Yurok Tribe Fisheries. My role in this project was I assisted throughout the design process and hydraulic modeling, and then I was on site throughout construction last summer. Farmers Ditch Company is the primary landowner where most of the project took place on. However, the Callahan family did have a small portion of the project on their property. They also had the Farmers Ditch Company's original point of diversion on their property, and they requested that the point of diversion and the access route be removed from their property. In addition, the Scott River Watershed Council, which is a restoration organization that's done a lot of work in the Scott River Valley, was an adjacent landowner. First, I'll go over pre-project site conditions for first the Scott River. This aerial image shows most but not all of the tailings reach. This orange outline here is our project footprint. This black line here is where this profile was taken from. You can see the existing Scott River on the right side of the image, or this is the east side of the valley. This during dredging, they pushed the Scott River over to the east side of the valley and left it there perched. In this spot, it is about 5 feet or more above the groundwater table, and these remnant tailings are very coarse material and basically act as a giant French drain. So much of the water in the existing Scott River, especially during dry summer months, drain through the tailings and lower the overall groundwater table. And due to this reason, in dry summer months, the Scott River main stem will go dry. Here's a more zoomed in image on our project location. This river right channel, or the Scott River in our project location, has a flow split, and this river right channel outlined in the orange receives, here's again in this aerial image, receives the majority of the flow. This river left channel will often go dry in summer months, which is problematic because this is how Sugar Creek connects to the main stem Scott, and when this river left channel goes dry, Sugar Creek is then completely isolated from the Scott River, which is problematic because Sugar Creek is a very important habitat for coho and other species. Onto Sugar Creek is highlighted here with the blue line. This next image is taken at the confluence looking upstream. Here's the river left Scott River channel that I was just talking about that often goes dry. In this image, you can see the beaver dam analogs that the Scott River Watershed Council installed and maintained. This chute is a steep and incised chute that was formed when the Scott River downcut. The BDAs more or less arrested this head cut from moving upstream. Here's a profile. Here's the Scott River, this 3.8% chute, and then the beaver dam analogs and the much flatter upstream portion of Sugar Creek. If these BDAs were to fail, we would expect this head cut to travel farther up Sugar Creek, affecting projects and other projects that are upstream. Next, I'll talk about the existing point of diversion. The Yurok Tribe Fisheries Department did not do the design work on this portion of the project, but I will briefly go over it. Farmers Ditch Company has a total water right of 36 CFS. This is where the existing point of diversion was located on the Callahan's property. The inlet was an open trash rack that allowed water and fish to enter. It would then travel down a 1,700-foot long open ditch where this rectangle shows where the fish screen was. At that point, fish would then be outlet onto what was often a completely dry channel bed. In addition, when Farmers Ditch Company would shut off the diversion in summer, all the fish that were in this ditch would dry up with the water. And now I will go over implementation that happened last summer. Here's an overview of all the project components that I'll be going into detail with. Starting off is our constructed terrace. This photo was taken on November 9th. Since then, this pipe has been installed and this trench backfilled, so it currently does not look like that. The existing point of diversion was up here on the Callahan's property. We moved it down onto Farmers Ditch Company property right here. We also, this new diversion structure has a 14-foot in diameter ISI cone fish screen. And Farmers Ditch Company also agreed to an 18 CFS minimum bypass and a maximum take of 40% of the flow in the Scott River. This new fish screen prevents fish from entering the diversion conveyance system, and this constructed terrace helps push the Scott River over to the river left side to help main connectivity to Sugar Creek in summer months. Next on, we also had a roughen channel in the main stem Scott. It's about 450 feet long and 180 feet wide, which is quite large for a roughen channel. Boulders were up to 5 feet in diameter, and the steepest chute was 4% with an average slope of 2.3%. The rock bands or the boulders were placed in a cell structure so that if one band or one rock pops out, the entire band won't unravel. It has creates an insurance so that to maintain stability in the channel. Here's an image looking upstream of the into the roughen channel and of the diversion structure. The main objectives of this roughen channel was to maintain an elevation at the diversion structure so that the Farmers Ditch Company is able to use a gravity-fed system. It also arrests any head cut or further down cutting of the Scott River and address some fish passage issues, and also helps maintain the thawag of the channel at the diversion structure, but then forces it to cross over and connect to Sugar Creek to maintain that connectivity, which is really important in summer months. Now I'm going to talk about the what we refer to as the upstream floodplain. We lowered it and added a secondary channel on the river right to provide variable swim paths for fish and reduced velocities. This is what we refer to, this shape here outlines our river left treatment. The river in this portion often goes dry in summer months because of this very porous mine tailings that the thawag would run along the toe of. We installed a series of boulder barbs to help keep the thawag off of the toe of the tailings and hopefully help maintain surface water in summer months. And this is the Scott River alcove. It's part of the existing river right channel downstream of the constructed terrace. Oh, sorry. Here's an image looking upstream into the alcove, and it provides high flow refuge and rearing habitat for fish. Here's the downstream floodplain. We lowered it 5.5 to 6 feet. These purple lines here are the Yreka control structure, which was not installed last summer. However, it will be installed this summer. It is a soil bentonite slurry wall. The goal of this structure is to decrease the hydraulic conductivity so that hopefully water will remain in the river rather than going subsurface in summer months. It's kind of a pilot thing that we're trying out to see if it could be applicable for helping the Scott River groundwater system. We also had a roughened channel on Sugar Creek. It was about 290 feet long and had an average slope of 3.4%. Boulders in this channel were up to 3 feet in diameter. The objective of this roughened channel was to improve fish passage conditions in this steepened and incised chute. We extended the roughened channel farther upstream because these BDAs that were providing a backwater for other projects upstream. So we extended the roughened channel farther upstream to help maintain this hydraulic control and mimic that backwater that the BDAs were providing. This helped with fish passage and also had provided this backwater for other projects. And here's our Sugar Creek alcove. This was added partway through the design process once we were certain that adding this feature would not negatively impact the groundwater system or other areas. Here's some images of the alcove. It has lots of large wood features and variable depths and provides great high flow refuge and rearing habitat. And yeah, any questions?
Questions from the audience? Eli.
Wondering on the, you mentioned the 18 CFS bypass and the max diversion of 40%. Who are the parties to that agreement? Is it legally binding? Is that in perpetuity or for 5 years or 10 years? Or, and then how's that monitored and enforced, and who's in charge of monitoring and enforcing?
The Yurok Tribe Fisheries Department, we weren't really overseeing that. Trout and Farmers Ditch Company kind of came to it. I think there is a legal binding agreement, but I don't really know all the details. And yeah. Yes, he's been the main person facilitating that.
Other questions?
Yes, yeah, it's a great presentation.
Thanks.
All right.
There's one online.
Okay.
Conrad's question is asking, will this project result in more or less water for fish?
Hopefully more. That's the goal. Yes.
Water. That's a great project goal to have. So, yes.
I'm just curious with the side channel and just knowing how little water is there. at times, is there a risk of entrainment of juveniles in those areas that eventually get dewatered?
Like the river left channel that's
Mhm.
connected to Sugar Creek, we remove, oh, sorry, just to make sure we're on the same page. Are you talking about this alcove down here or the Sugar Creek alcove? Both, yeah. Okay. There is flow coming into the Scott River alcove from from groundwater throughout the year and a small drainage. So we believe that it won't, there won't be any stranding issues in the Sugar Creek alcove. There's the roughened channels creating hydraulic control. And we put a boulder barb out at the outlet to help scour out the inlet to that channel. And then in terms of the river left channel, if I'm understanding correctly, we basically got rid of that flow split, and so now the whole Scott River just transition over to the river left side. So in theory, it shouldn't dry up anymore.
There's one more online that says, from Desiree Toulos, is there a model of the groundwater flow paths through the valley?
We did not develop a model just because the system is so complex. There is a model that another organization has, but it's not really useful or doesn't have a high enough resolution to be useful for our project. We did some geomorphic, or we did some geology, or last summer, Trout, and did some studies to tell where the geotechnical exploration to see where the groundwater and bedrock is, to hopefully better define that model, but that's not something that we have actively providing useful information.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I think it's really, a great thing that's happening here, because, the tailings reach has been just a huge problem for so long. And, so to be able to start to tackle this, as well as building those relationships with landowners and restoration, and just starting to kind of work together, it's really just a great accomplishment. So great to hear everything that's happening here, and I'm sure there'll be more to come. So yeah, thank you so much.